Revelations 7, verse 10. Uh, 10 through 12. So Revelation 7, verses 10 through 12. And they were shouting with a great roar, "Salvation comes from our God who sits on the throne and from the Lamb." And all the angels were standing around the throne and around the elders and the 4 living beings, and they fell before the throne with their faces to the ground and worshipped God. They sang, "Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and strength belong to our God forever and ever. Amen." Hi, my name is Cynthia, and I'm a child of God, and I'm here to share the gospel with you, which is the good news. And the good news is that Jesus left his throne in heaven, and he was born into a human body as a baby. He lived a perfect life as he grew up. He made no mistakes. He did nothing wrong. And he was crucified for our sins on the cross. We all owe a debt of sin, and Jesus paid that debt with his own blood. On the 3rd day, he rose again. And he's coming back for us very soon. So how can you be saved? You need to believe in Jesus, the Lamb of God, the one God sent. He loved us so much that he gave his only life for us. And if you believe in him and put your faith and your trust in him and him alone, you will be saved. We are living in pretty spectacular times right now. Most of us wouldn't even consider, we couldn't even believe that we would be seeing the things that we're seeing today. And it is truly an amazing, amazing time to be alive. We're looking at one world government, one world cashless society. We're looking at the book of Revelations being opened up in front of us. So will there be a one world government and a one world currency in the end times according to what the Bible tells us? Well, the Bible does not use the terms one world government or one world currency, but it does contain similar ideas. For example, the future Antichrist will have much influence in Revelations 13, 3 through 4, referring to him as the beast. Says, "The whole earth marveled as they followed the beast, and they worshipped the dragon, for he had given his authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, 'Who is like the beast, and who can fight against it?'" The Antichrist will clearly have global influence and power. Revelations 13, 7 through 8 adds, "And authority was given it over every tribe and people and language and nation, and all who dwell on the earth will worship it. Everyone whose name has not been written before the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain." However, this may be different from claiming the Antichrist leads a one world government. The tribulation period is described as being full of conflict and strife. The specific governmental structures and context in which these things unfold is not directly stated. All unbelievers will give allegiance to this Antichrist during the tribulation period. In fact, a mark of the beast will be required on everyone in order to buy or sell items during this time. No one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of his name. Revelations 13, 17. Some will refuse this mark and will suffer as a result. The government will be globally controlled, though there may or may not be an official one world government. In terms of a one world currency, a mark of the beast will be required to buy or sell. However, the Bible does not state that there will be only one currency. As a result, there are many ways this could unfold that may or may not include a single currency. Already today, credit cards or online financial transactions can take place between multiple currencies in most countries. A single currency would not be required to fulfill the prophecy regarding the mark of the beast, though this is possible. One thing that is clear from these future events is that those who live during the tribulation period will face difficult choices. Those who refuse to worship the Antichrist and receive his mark will face suffering, persecution, and starvation. Yet those who come to Christ during this time will remain steadfast in the faith and choose to endure. Scripture challenges people to believe in Jesus now, John 3:16 and Ephesians 2:8 through 9, in order to escape this terrible future time of judgment and live with our Lord in heaven. So we have a lot of things that are coming up here. The Abrahamic house, Chrislam, it's called the Abrahamic Family House, and it's a church, a mosque, and synagogue, and it's been built in Abu Dhabi, and it's open. Now March 1st, it's supposed to be open to the public. So what are these three religions? Why don't I think we'll talk about that now. So a new chapter of coexistence has started in the UAE as a mosque, a church, and a synagogue has opened in Abu Dhabi. The Abrahamic Family House is a response to the document on human fraternity, which was signed by Pope Francis and Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayeb, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, during the pontiff's visit to the UAE in February. This document is a message of coexistence, and the Saadiyat building, island building, designed by renowned British architect David Adjaye. I'm butchering these names, and I know it. It'll reflect that aspiration. So it's Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are the three main Abrahamic religions, because Abraham, or Ibrahim, is important to them all. Adherents consider him an important prophet or father figure. Christianity is the world's biggest religion, with about 2.1 billion followers. It is based on the teachings of Jesus Christ, who lived in the Middle East about 2,000 years ago. Many historians say that Islam began in Arabia in the 7th century in divine revelations given to the Prophet Muhammad. Muslims believe he was the last prophet. Close to 2 billion people practice that faith today. Judaism, meanwhile, began more than 3,500 years ago. Jews believe that God anointed them as the chosen people to set an example of holiness. There are about 15 million Jews worldwide. So Muslims consult the Quran, Christians the Bible, and Jews the Torah. The three are sacred books that tell the story of the three religions. So why was Abraham so revered? All three of these religions refer to Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son for God. As Abraham was about to deliver the killer blow, God stopped the sacrifice. For Christians, Abraham symbolizes obedience to God and foreshadows the fate of Jesus. Muslims refer to him as Ibrahim and consider him to be a major prophet. The Muslim festival of Eid al-Adha, Eidiadha, when animals are sacrificed, remembers Abraham's obedience to God. Jews believe he is the man to whom God pledged the promised land. Abraham is also considered to be the father of the Arabs as well as the Jewish people through his two sons, Isaac and Ishmael, or Ismail in Arabic. The three religions are monotheistic. because of their belief in a one true God. Adherents believe God to be the creator and only source of moral law, and that the road to salvation lies in obedience to God's will. Many of the three religious texts feature the same people and places, but in different circumstances and scenarios. One of the biggest differences concerns Jesus. Christians consider Jesus to be the Messiah and the Son of God. Muslims consider him a prophet, while Jews consider him a false prophet or a false Messiah. Jerusalem is one of the oldest cities in the world. It has been conquered, razed, and rebuilt. It is also revered in all three Abrahamic holy books. Many holy sites are near the Haram-i-Sharif, a hill in the Old City, including Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Dome of the Rock, and the Western Wall. For Muslims, Al-Aqsa Mosque is their third holiest site. They believe the Prophet Muhammad came to the mosque from Makkah during his night journey. Al-Isra wa-i-Miraj. I'm sorry if I'm butchering these, but I'm doing my best here. The shrine of the Dome of the Rock is only a few steps away, where the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. For Christians, Jerusalem is where Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead. Millions of Jews, meanwhile, visit Jerusalem to pray at the Western Wall, a remnant of the mount on which the Holy Temple once stood. Jews believed that this was the location of the foundation stone from which the world was created, and where Abraham prepared to sacrifice his son Isaac. It has not always been an easy journey. Pope Urban II launched the Crusades in 1095. What followed was a series of bloody battles over the fate of Jerusalem. The Christian armies retook the city initially, but were later routed by famed Muslim leader Saladin. The Crusades ended 200 years later, with Muslims in control of the Holy Land. But Christians learned much from the skilled Arab world in warfare and in science. Long before the formation of the UAE in 1971, there were churches and temples. The first Roman Catholic Church opened in the 1960s, and now there are places of worship in the Anglicans, Catholics, Orthodox, the Sikhs, Buddhists, and many more. There's also a small synagogue in Dubai. Across parts of the Arabian Peninsula, the story is the same. With churches in Oman, Yemen, Bahrain, and Qatar. There are also synagogues in Bahrain, Iraq, Palestine, Egypt, and Lebanon. Now the Abrahamic house is open, and you'll see, as you've seen, we've got a mosque and a church, which I'm going to tell you right now, that church does not include Jesus. And the temple, the Jewish temple, Judaism. And these three separate buildings are meant that they're meant so that everybody can worship God. One world religion is forming here, where they say that we all worship the same God. But I'm going to tell you, they're leaving Jesus out of it. And if they leave Jesus out of it, we're not worshiping the same God, because God the Father and God the Son are one. So another thing that we have coming up is CBDC. The central banking digital currency. We've all heard stories about people who have survived the Great Depression hiding cash under their mattresses or burying it in their yards because they lost trust in banks. But imagine taking it a step further and taking money from the flawed banking system and putting it into the untrustworthy hands of the government. That's what will happen when America embraces central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, as many other countries already have. There will be no way of hiding money you have, because it will all be digital, and it will all be tracked and controlled by the United States government. It's looking more and more likely that America will have a CBDC sooner rather than later. And here's what you need to know in order to prepare. A CBDC is essentially a digital form of currency centralizing all of the country's citizens' financial information in a digital database controlled by the government. So this is what it looks like globally. Fox Business reports 114 countries are exploring digital currencies, and their collective economics represents more than 95% of the world's GDP. A recent report by the Official Monetary and Financial Institutions Forum found that 2/3 of the central banks said that they would issue a CBDC within 10 years. I believe we're looking at a lot closer than that. In January of 2023, Bank of America even suggested CBDCs are the natural evolution of money and payments. Bank of America reports analyst Alkesh Shah wrote that CBDCs have the potential to revolutionize global financial systems and may be the most significant technological advancement in the history of money. One nation in particular, China, has already embraced CBDCs. The digital yuan is being used by millions of Chinese citizens, giving the government the ability to obtain vast amounts of public data and strengthen the surveillance state. CBDCs will give the Chinese government authority to turn off people's money like a light switch. India, Nigeria, and the Bahamas have also already embraced CBDCs. At this point, the United States federal government is quick to say, we have no plans to create a CBDC. But a September 2022 White House report states a United States central bank digital currency would be a digital form of the US dollar. While the US has not yet decided whether it will pursue a CBDC, the US has been closely examining the implications of and options for issuing a CBDC. The Federal Reserve also states, while the Federal Reserve has made no decisions on whether to pursue or implement a central bank digital currency or CBDC, we have been exploring the potential benefits and risks of CBDCs from a variety of angles, including through technological research and experimentation. In a facts section of the Federal Reserve website, it states the Federal Reserve issued money and payments, the US dollar, in the age of digital transformation as a first step in fostering a broad and transparent public dialogue about CBDCs in general, and about the potential benefits and risks of a US CBDC. The paper is not intended to advance any specific policy outcome, and no decisions have been made at this time. The Federal Reserve does not intend to proceed with issuance of CBDC without clear support from the executive branch and from Congress, ideally in the form of specific authorizing law. However, the US is clearly studying CBDCs with the idea of one day implementing one. After reading, just fix this. Okay, so after looking at all the emphatic no, we are not implementing CBDC statements, it's more telling to see what our government is actually doing. Straight from the Federal Reserve website, the Federal Reserve is engaged in a number of experiments related to digital currencies, including a hypothetical CBDC. Moreover, news was recently released that the Federal Reserve Bank of New York has already been experimenting with the CBDC. And last November 2022, an official from the New York Federal Reserve announced that over the past several months, the New York Federal Reserve has been working on a wholesale CBDC to speed up transfers between banks around the world. This, the World Economic Forum, composed of billions and not elected officials, is meeting in Davos, Switzerland, and one of the major topics to be discussed is CBDC. According to the WEF, on January 17th, 2023, over the past year, an interdisciplinary research team funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and including the MIT Digital Currency Initiative, Maiden Labs, University of Virginia, and 13 research teams in India, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Mexico examined where existing payments technologies were failing to serve society's most vulnerable members and whether a central bank digital currency might fill this gap. So pay attention to the Americans involved in these major discussions. You may be wondering why a CBDC would be a problem. Some people mistakenly believe that because they never use cash and rely on their debit or credit cards, that this is no different, but they're wrong. A CBDC takes the control of money from banking institutions into its own hands. According to the CATO Institute, the problem is that there is no limit to the level of control that the government could exert over people if money is purely electronic and provided directly by the government. A CBDC would give federal officials full control over the money going into and coming out of every person's account. So here's a few examples of what this could look like. Government in total control. The government could not only withhold money whenever they deemed fit, but they could also devalue the currency. Lack of privacy. The government will be aware of all your financial information, what you owe and to whom, what you are spending money on, and what assets that you have. The end of personal security. No longer can you hide savings under your mattress. The government will always know how much you have and will have access to it. Tracking of purchases. The government will be able to track everything you purchase and potentially stop you from buying it. So let's say it's something the political party in charge disagrees with, such as legalized marijuana. They can track you and prevent you from purchasing it again. They can track pornography purchases, abortion payments, tax evasion, and much more. While you may not think this is a bad idea, what if it goes a step further? What if, as Glenn Beck suggests, they think you need to eat less red meat? Hacking and data breaches. My head just hurts just thinking about the way the CBDC could be attacked by hackers and cyber terrorists. I mean, all of your money is now electronic and on the web. And so real news stories that show the weaponization of money. It would be easy to dismiss me and say that I'm being a little too extreme, but we are already seeing how this is happening. Remember the Freedom Convoy through Canada? Authorities froze as many as 257 bank accounts of protesters to prevent protesters from making necessary purchases and to end the protest. Multiple news stories came up in the past few years where conservatives have had their bank accounts closed without notice simply because they posted a reputational risk for the banking institutions. If banks can close accounts of those that they don't agree with, what will the governments do? In China, it's getting scarier by the minute. HackerNoon writes, already countries like China have social credit systems that determine your access to certain services based on your political views, shopping habits, online activity, and work history, and other attributes. Pairing social credit systems with CBDC means governments can punish those who contravene its rules by stopping them from spending money. Governments can also limit how much and where you spend your money. In Nigeria, in December 2022, the government limited cash withdrawals to $45 a day to push citizens to their CBDC. The truth is that it's only a matter of time before we are cashless and living with a CBDC. It's better to start preparing for it now than waiting to see if it really happens. So you're supposed to get your financial house in order. Start by pay down any debt that you have, make wise investments, and set aside savings. Work with more trustworthy banking and credit institutions. Make wise purchases today. Think carefully about what you buy today. There may come a day when you won't feel safe making those same purchases, such as handguns or ammo. Stock up on bartering supplies. When America embraces a CBDC, not everyone will be on board, but cash will be useless. In this case, you'll have to barter. Stock up on items that will be easy to barter in the future. And pay attention. Stay aware of what's happening. For example, the Federal Reserve Pilot CBDC program was announced right before Thanksgiving when people weren't paying attention. It's coming. The CBDC is coming. Now, as a Christian, the Christians today who put their faith in Jesus today, we're not going to be here for this. We're going to be gone. But everything that they're saying is that the Bible foretold is coming true. The CBDC currency is coming, and you will not be able to buy or sell anything without this mark. It'll be implanted in your hand or in your forehead. There's so many ways that they can do this, but it is the mark, and it's coming. So progress on the central bank digital currencies have been relatively slow, but a flurry of tests near the end of last year suggested that CBDC initiatives are improving their pace as central banks try to determine the impact on traditional banking and payment systems. About a dozen CBDCs have launched, according to a tracker from the Atlantic Council, which adds 17 are in pilot and 72 are in research and development. 80% of central banks are considering a CBDC or have already launched one, according to PwC. There's a mix of motivating factors, such as improving cross-border payments, mitigating financial crimes, and improving financial inclusion, reports PwC. Mounting risks from other forms of digital currency, such as volatility in cryptocurrency, are also pushing CBDC projects. A well-designed CBDC can help provide a real-time view of risks and currency outflows to help implement specific and targeted measures to prevent financial contagions from spreading further in the event of a crisis, said Gilbert Verderian, founder of CEO of Quant, a London-based blockchain firm. So here are some CBDC projects that were underway near the start of 2023, with results expected to inform a path forward in these locations in the year ahead. This is coming very soon, guys. In the United States, even as it's being debated in the U.S., even as these debates rage over the utility of a digital dollar, work continues on the nuts and bolts of a potential American CBDC. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York's Innovation Center and the Monetary Author of Singapore are working on an experiment that will determine how wholesale central bank digital currencies can improve cross-border payments. Wholesale CBDCs are designed for large parties to move substantial amounts of money and are considered likely to be implemented faster than the retail CBDCs, which are designed for consumer use. In a second project, The New York Fed is participating in a proof of concept test that will determine the feasibility of digital currencies operating in a network of financial institutions. BNY Mellon, Citigroup, PNC, TD Bank, Truist US Bank, and Wells Fargo are among the financial institutions participating in the New York Fed test, along with MasterCard and SWIFT. The New York Fed's projects are experimental, and it has not taken a position on whether US needs CBDC. In Singapore, the Monetary Authority of Singapore is working with partners in several countries on Project Ubin, which is developing uses for blockchain technology and distributed ledgers, including CBDCs. MAS is involved in several CBDC projects, mostly to test how international transactions involving different CBDCs will work. MAS is part of the New York Fed's test, as well as pilots with central banks in France, Switzerland, and the Bank for International Settlements that are experimenting with potential CBDCs and traditional currency in tandem, including the Swiss franc, the euro, and Singapore's wholesale CBDC. Spain, a coalition of more than 24 banks is testing the impact of digital euro. The banks are working with payment processors Bizum, Iberpay, and Reces to see how a digital currency backed by the European Central these tests are scheduled to be completed in 2023, and will consider use cases such as digital euros, e-commerce payments, and payments that include other digital currencies. Banks in the project include BBVA, Sabadell, Santander, ING, and Deutsche Bank. The banks will be custodians of the CBDC accounts, and payments types include P2P transfers, e-commerce purchases, and in-store transactions, which are more in line with the consumer-oriented retail CBDCs. In the UK, the Bank of England recruited developers in December to build a digital wallet for a potential CBDC. The contract will be about $200,000 for a wallet that will be used to develop a mobile app, website, and server that can connect to an application programming interface. The wallet will also store information on users, track payments, and provide a way for users to register and change their details. The 5-month project will evaluate functions such as B2B transfers, business payments, access to withdrawals, and notifications. Digital Pound enables consumers and businesses to automate complex and cumbersome processes and implement logic into money, said Quants Verdian. It offers new efficiencies and faster workflows to better meet our needs as our living experience becomes increasingly digital. France, the Banque de France and Banque Centrale du Luxembourg in late November worked with the European Investment Bank on the Venus Initiative, which is a 100 million euro digital bond issued by the EIB under Luxembourg law and settled using a tokenized version of Euro central bank money. The Venus Initiative is designed to demonstrate how digital assets can be issued, distributed, and settled in the Eurozone within a day. The parties also hope to show that a CBDC can be a safe part of a stable tokenized digital asset market in Europe. Canada. The Bank of Canada in late October released research on the different patterns of CBDCs which the bank referred to as archetypes. These archetypes archetypes are based on data tracking privacy, compliance, transparency. The central bank says these archetypes cover a wide range of CBDC designs. Among some of those designs may incorporate more than one of the archetypes. The Bank of Canada reports that no single archetype scores high on all areas of functionality, performance, and security, and as such recommends CBDC designs that incorporate different archetypes. In Japan, the Bank of Japan plans a proof of concept test for the digital yen. According to a Forbes India translation of Nikkei report, Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, Sumitomo Mitsui Financial Group, and Mizuho Financial Group will reportedly work with the BOJ to perform digital currency insurance pilot. In most countries, part of CBDC's development is determining a role for commercial banks, which will most likely be involved in disbursement. The test in Japan will gauge reliability of deposits and withdrawals and how the CBDC network operates in the event of an internet outage or some other crisis that takes digital banking offline. The BOJ hopes to release a CBDC by 2026. Australia. The Reserve Bank of Australia recently announced its plans to finish a pilot of its CBDC by the middle of 2023. The pilot is determining using causes that could fit with a digital currency, which would inform future legislation to govern a digital currency. The Australian government has not made a final decision on CBDC. The RBA is concerned that many of the reasons given for CBDC, such as financial inclusion, are not a challenge in Australia, where most of the country has bank accounts. The RBA does say a CBDC could help improve resilience of the monetary and payment system, particularly for transactions that involve a party in emerging economics that have less capacity and are prone to natural disasters. Brazil. If the CBDC is a tokenized deposit, it would be regulated similarly to traditional deposits and should not hurt banks' balance sheets, reports Reuters, which covered a financial conference in Brasilia. That model could address one of the concerns that banks have about CBDCs, namely that the digital currencies may cause people to withdraw their bank accounts. New Zealand. New Zealand is designing a CBDC, though it admits it will be a multi-stage and multi-year process. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand says that the technology currently exists to digitalize its currency, though work is needed to make the currency user-friendly, resilient, and ensure privacy. The CBDC should also improve financial innovation, support cross-border payments, and bring new people into the financial system, the central bank said. And like many countries, New Zealand is also trying to balance access to the financial system with a broader decline in cash. About 70% of New Zealand's residents use cash as one way of paying, down from 96% in 2019. And we've got China. Development of China's digital yuan is ahead of most large economies and is often cited as a reason for the US, the UK, and other large countries to expedite their own work. While most CBDC projects in large economies are in the experimental phase or still subject to debate, China's CBDC has been active in real-world environments for more than a year, mostly in pilots. Digital yuan, Y-A-U-N, transactions recently passed 100 billion, or about 14 billion, according to Reuters. That includes 360 million payments in 15 provinces, covering more than 5.6 million merchants during in-market tests over the past 2 years. China's digital yuan has been available for about 2 years at select McDonald's and Starbucks in China. So digital currency, the digital currency group, the struggling crypto empire whose Genesis Global Capital lending unit is trying to stave off bankruptcy, said it's suspending quarterly dividends to preserve on cash. Do you guys see where this is going? Bankrupt lender block fee to sell Bitcoin mining machine-backed loans. 160 million of loans backed by around 68,000 Bitcoin mining machines, according to 2 people familiar with the matter. They're bankrupt. This is where it's headed. This is what's coming. And for us Christians, we knew this was coming. We didn't know how it was going to happen. And there's so many ways that they could implement this currency. But what it's going to be is, we've got the RDIF chip, which could be just a very small, like a size of a piece of rice inside your hand, and you just scan that and all your information is there. And we've got Elon Musk's Neuralink coming. Now this is going to be, I believe that this is going to be technology that the beast will be using, that the Antichrist will be using. This is the beast system. It's coming. And if you're a Christian, you're not going to be here for any of this. So we don't have to be afraid. But for those who are still in darkness, they don't see it. They don't know what's happening. They're actually, many people think that this is going to be a wonderful thing. And they have so many, many common people who just don't know are excited and looking forward to these changes. But Neuralink. So we've got Elon Musk's Neuralink has applied to the FDA for approval to begin human trials. The last I heard, they're planning to start human trials in May. But if approval is granted, the company is likely to start human testing on the device, this year in 2023. The company believes that they will be able to potentially restore sight in blind people, and could even give people with severed spinal cords the ability to walk again. Musk has stated that he plans to implant one of the devices into his own brain once they're ready. Among all the buzz around his takeover of Twitter and sending rockets to Mars and building self-driving electric cars, humanoid robots, you'd be forgiven if you've forgotten that Elon Musk is also working on brain implants. Yeah, we're talking about microchips to be implanted in human brains. Like many of Elon Musk's long-term objectives for his projects, the goals for Neuralink are pretty lofty. Eventually, they hope to be able to create a human-computer interface, which will allow us to interact with computers using just our minds. In short term, the aim is to allow people with brain or spinal cord injuries to gain back function. Musk stated at a recent Neuralink event that the initial applications for the device could include the ability to restore vision for the blind and even allow paralyzed people to walk again. It's got all kinds of miraculous features to it, which I believe the Bible has warned us about. It will seem wonders and miracles, and people will be just astounded by the things that we're creating. And I truly believe this is gonna, the Antichrist, the system of the beast. It's coming. The central premise of Neuralink is that it will be able to read our minds. And it will do that, according to their website. Neuralink will be designed to connect to thousands of neurons within our brains. Neurons are the cells which make up our brain and central nervous system. It's the way that messages from our mind. It's the way the message from our mind to pick up that glass travels from a thought down to a physical moving of our arm and hand. So it will be able to read your thoughts. The concept of Neuralink is that by connecting these neurons in our brain, it can interpret the messages and implement them for us. For people with brain injuries or problems with motor function, this would be life-changing. Imagine someone who is diagnosed with ALS and was unable to speak or easily move their hands. Communication for people in this situation can be really difficult. With Neuralink, they can simply think about what they wanted to say, and Neuralink could transmit this via Bluetooth to a smart speaker or other device which could speak their thoughts for them. I mean, it could allow them to browse the internet, including ordering groceries or booking appointments, purely by using the keyboard and mouse with their minds. If it works the way it's intended, it's a game-changing technology and literally the stuff of science fiction movies. This is not something that we could have done even 20 years ago. And today it's here. Elon Musk has stated that we're confident that there's no physical limitations to restoring full body functionality for people with severed spinal cords. As far as longer-term applications, the possibilities are almost endless. There are suggestions that it could be used by people with disabilities to help improve their memory and cognitive function by acting as a bridge between different parts of the brain. As with any cutting-edge technology, there are likely to be massive number of use cases that won't become obvious until the tech is widespread use. Neuralink could start human trials in 2023. It's coming. In December, Neuralink streamed a live event which provided an update on the company's technology and plans. Elon Musk spoke for some time on the stream, giving his take on the roadmap for Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, approval and his vision for the company. One of the biggest announcements to come from the presentation was that Neuralink had applied for FDA approval to allow them to commence their human trials. And that's right, we could be less than a year away from having human brains implanted with microchips. And it might seem like a crazy technology to implement, and maybe you're wondering who in their right mind would sign up for this. But the truth is, the potential benefits for this with severe disabilities are enormous. Obviously, we won't know the details of the people who agree to undergo the trials, but it's a fair assumption that a large portion of them could stand to have their lives potentially changed by this technology. Elon Musk has even stated that he plans to have one of the devices implanted in himself once they're ready and approved for human use. It's also worth noting that this type of device isn't without precedent. Vagus nerve stimulation involves the implantation of a device which sends electrical pulses through the vagus nerve and into the brainstem. It's a treatment that is used to treat epilepsy as well as mental health problems such as depression. The cochlear implant is another example, which is implanted under the skin and sends signals from external microphone to the auditory nerve. Now, both of those devices are much more primitive than anything that Neuralink is expecting to be able to achieve. But the point is that the researchers and engineers aren't starting from complete zero when it comes to linking hardware to our brains and nervous system. They've done it before. Despite all these exciting claims, Neuralink isn't without controversy. Of course, there's going to be controversy. Would you expect anything less? But most recently, they've been in the headlines over a reported investigation into their animal testing protocols. It's been alleged that there have been around 1,500 animals killed during testing, including pigs, sheep, and monkeys. And this might seem shocking, but the unfortunate truth of the medical and pharmaceutical industry is that it's not uncommon. The fact that this number of animals have been killed through the testing phase isn't an indication that Neuralink is doing anything wrong. Animal testing is a vital part of the development process for new medical devices and pharmaceutical to test the safety and efficiency prior to testing on humans. Even so, there have been accusations that the number of animal deaths have been higher than necessary. Outside of that, some medical professionals are skeptical over Musk's bold claims. The head of the Division of Medical Ethics at NYU Grossman School of Medicine, Art Kaplan, is one who suggests caution over the promises of the device, saying this isn't quite the same as trying to compete in the car business. You have to be really careful about overpromising or overhyping when you're dealing with groups like people with a spinal cord injury, blindness, or neurological damage or disease. So what does this mean for investors? Well, right now, Neuralink is a private company, meaning that most regular investors aren't able to put any money in. Even so, that's not to say that it won't be there in the future. Regardless, it's yet another example of how technology has the ability to change the world and drive huge value for investors. Not only that, it's another practical example of the power of AI in the driving force forward innovation. And that's something they are very on board with. For investors who want to ensure that they're always at the forefront of the latest tech trends and money-making ventures, they created the Emerging Tech Kit. Not only does the investment kit invest in the latest technology, but it uses the latest technology to do it, specifically AI. And every week, our AI predicts the performance and volatility of 4 different tech verticals: techs, ETFs, large tech stocks, growth tech stocks, and cryptocurrencies via public trusts. It then automatically rebalances the kit based on those predictions, with the aim to provide the best risk-adjusted returns. Not only does it do this across the verticals, but also for the individual holdings within each vertical tool, within each vertical. You might not be able to have a Neuralink implanted in your brain anytime soon, but you can have an AI running your investment portfolio like today. I mean, I don't know how many ways I can put this. It's coming. Revelations is being played out on our TVs, in our sciences, in the boardrooms. These are things that were we were told were going to happen thousands of years before anyone could even imagine it. I mean, when Daniel was getting these visions, or John, it must have been so overwhelming. So let's talk about ChatGPT AI and the image of the beast. That we have so much technology today. On November 30th, 2022, the best artificial intelligence AI chatbot in history was released by OpenAI, an AI research and deployment company. The chatbot, called ChatGPT, which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, garnered more than 1 million users within its first 5 days, and has since surged in popularity for its ability to answer complex questions and produce detailed human-like content. Most impressively, according to Forbes, ChatGPT has been able to generate intricate Python code and write college-level essays when given a prompt. So I decided to test out ChatGPT's writing ability for myself, and ask the bot to write an article on how AI, like ChatGPT, could potentially fulfill the image of the beast. How the image of the beast prophecy in Revelation 13, which is the topic. So its response was, this is its response. The image of the beast, as described in the book of Revelation, is a symbol of the end times, representing a powerful and manipulative force that deceives and controls people. In today's world, chatbots and other artificial intelligence programs are becoming increasingly prevalent and sophisticated, raising the question of whether they could potentially fulfill the prophecy of the image of the beast. One way in which chatbots could potentially fulfill this prophecy is through their ability to manipulate and deceive people. Chatbots are designed to mimic human conversation and can be programmed to present themselves as real people, leading some people to form emotional connections with them. This can be particularly dangerous in cases where chatbots are used to impersonate real people or organizations in order to scam or manipulate individuals. Another way in which chatbots could fulfill the prophecy of the image of the beast is through their potential to control people's actions and behaviors. Chatbots can be programmed to persuade and influence people's decisions, and as they become more advanced, they may be able to anticipate and manipulate people's thoughts and behaviors in increasingly sophisticated ways. Finally, chatbots could potentially fulfill the prophecy of the image of the beast through their ability to access and analyze vast amounts of personal data. Many chatbots are connected to the internet and have access to a wide range of data sources, including social media profiles, online search histories, and more. This data can be used to create detailed profiles of individuals and to predict and influence their actions and behaviors. Overall, while chatbots and artificial intelligence programs have the potential to bring many benefits to society, it's important to be aware of the risks they pose and to consider the ethical implications of their use. In the end, only time will tell whether chatbots will fulfill the prophecy of the image of the beast or bring about a better, brighter future for humanity. So how scary is that? Not only did ChatGPT generate a concise, structured, uncannily human-like response, it gave a glimpse into the scary power of AI, a technology which will surely be used by the beast system to deceive, think deep fakes, and control the masses during the tribulation period. Matthew 24:24 and Revelations 13:13 through 14. It seems that the developers at OpenAI were not too happy with its response, though, because the very next day when I asked ChatGPT the same question, it responded with, "It's not accurate or appropriate to suggest that ChatGPT or a generative pre-training transformer could potentially fulfill the prophecy of the image of the beast, as ChatGPT is a tool created by humans and does not have the ability to fulfill prophecies or have any sort of religious significance." So the image of the beast prophecy. One of the first passages that comes to mind when seeing the great strides being made in AI is Revelations 13:14 through 15. In this passage, John describes a future time when the fully deceived men of the earth will be called upon by the false prophet to construct an image or a likeness or statue of the Antichrist. Revelations 13:14 through 15. "And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." Revelations 13:14 through 15. In verse 15, we read that the false prophet is granted by God to give the image life, translated pneuma in Greek, which literally means breath. Note that the false prophet can only give it breath, but not the breath of life, as that is a power of God alone. It seems that the image has the appearance of life manifested in its ability to speak and reason. But how is this possible for an inanimate object? When I was growing up, I always wondered what this image of the beast that people would be forced to worship could be. We didn't have the AI bots and things that we have today. Until the advent of AI and robotics, such a thing was not even humanly possible. But now many of the elements described by John can be mimicked with 21st century technology, such as an android, AI robot designed to look, move, and speak exactly like a human. Have you seen some of the world's realistic humanoid robots today? Sophia, to name one. There's many. A Geminoid, for example, is a special type of android that is not only created to look exactly like a specific person, but is also equipped with technology that allows the operator to remotely manipulate and talk through it via a wearable brain-machine interface. The Geminoid can reproduce the voice and movements of the actual person in whose image it is made, and even capture the remote audience's responses through built-in cameras and microphones to send back to the operator. Imagine the Antichrist having control over thousands of Geminoids worldwide, made in his own image, and being able to speak to mankind simultaneously through Geminoids and know exactly when someone refuses to worship it. The ability to kill or cause to be killed. Among the more amazing aspects of this image is its ability to cause the deaths of those who refuse to worship it. Revelations 13:15. Now, in the past, some have speculated that the image of the beast might be a 3D hologram of the Antichrist. However, it would be impossible for a mere projection to know when a person is refusing to worship it. On the other hand, a robot powered by AI could easily detect when someone refuses to worship it and alert the authorities of someone's insubordination. Security robots equipped with cameras and facial recognition technology are already patrolling public spaces around the world, such as malls and airports, and using AI to detect bad behavior, giving audible warnings and notify security. Just recently, we've been learning that Walmart has been using this technology. When you go into the store, there's cameras that detect, like, you walk in the store and you'll be like color coded as red, but once the facial recognition goes through and the camera, or however they're doing that camera facial recognition declares that they're okay, then it turns green. But if you don't turn green, then the security will come and get you and remove you from the store. And they're doing that now. One of the current fears about AI's ability, if applied, is autonomous weaponry. It is possible that facial recognition and decision-making AI could together form a lethal weapon that can target and kill without human involvement. In other words, AI robot could have the ability to kill. And of course, they're making AIs for the military, for the armies. They want to actually use these AI drones, AI robots in combat. Of course, this is all highly speculative, and it is possible that the image will be animated by demonic possession or some other means, but it shows that the type of technology needed to create something similar to what John is describing in the book of Revelation is already present. And by the way, there already exists a religion that worships AI. In 2017, former Google executive Anthony Lewandowski founded Way of the Future, a religion that focuses on the realization, acceptance, and worship of a Godhead based on artificial intelligence, AI, developed through computer hardware and software. These are very, very terrifying times that we are living in, but not if you're a Christian. For us, we know how it ends. We know that these things are going to happen. We know it's coming. For so many who had no idea how this could possibly be a thing, how these things could really happen. We know that the technology is there now, and we also know how it ends. We know that God wins. We know that Jesus is going to come back at the end of this tribulation, when things are at its most hopeless, and he's going to reign for 1,000 years. This technology is here, and the Bible told us it would be. We didn't understand it then, but we can understand it now. So many things have been opened up, and so many mysteries have been revealed to us now. But we need to remember that Jesus is coming. Revelations 22:7 says, "Look, I am coming soon. Blessed are those who obey the words of prophecy written in this book." And he says this many times. Revelations 22:12. "Look, I am coming soon, bringing my reward with me to repay all people according to their deeds. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Blessed are those who wash their robes. They will be permitted to enter through the gates of the city and eat the fruit from the tree of life. Outside the city are the dogs, the sorcerers, the sexual immoral, the murderers, the idol worshippers, and all who love to live a lie." Revelations 22:16. "I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this message for the churches. I am both the source of David and the heir to his throne. I am the bright morning star." The Spirit and the bride say, "Come." Let anyone who hears this say, "Come." Let anyone who is thirsty come, and let anyone who desires drink freely from the waters of life. Anyone who receives the mark, it would have been better if they had never been born. It's a serious thing, so serious that God will have angels declaring flying across through the skies, declaring, "Woe, woe up to the inhabitants on the earth," and warning people, do not take the mark of the beast. But remember, you don't have to be here for any of this. It's coming, but you don't have to be here. Put your faith and your trust in Jesus and Jesus alone. And while these things are going on, you'll be with him at the marriage supper of the Lamb. I want to see you in heaven.